Maran Duain, a giant of a man. He was all shadows and silence, never spoke a word, not a whisper, not a sigh. He arrived at Whispering Pines one crisp autumn afternoon. Leaves swirled around his feet as he walked, a grim reaper in a worn overcoat. His eyes, deep-set and dark, held the secrets of 1,000 sleepless nights. The orderlies said he'd been found wandering in the woods, babbling incoherently. Then, silence. A wall of silence he built around himself, brick by painful brick. Whispering Pines was a place of forgotten souls. People came, people went, some got better, some didn't. Maran, he was different. A specter haunting the halls. Then one day he was gone, vanished. Like a ghost he slipped through the cracks of our reality. No note, no goodbye, just an empty bed and the unsettling feeling that something wasn't right. Weeks turned into months, seasons changed, the memory of the silent giant faded, leaving behind a chilling emptiness, and then just as suddenly, he reappeared. He was found in the same woods, in the exact spot he'd disappeared from. No explanation, no memory, or so they said. He returned to Whispering Pines, a wraith reclaiming his shadow. The place had changed him, or maybe it was the other way around. The silence that clung to him felt heavier, more profound. He would spend his days in the overgrown garden, a solitary figure amidst the weeds and wildflowers, always watching, always silent. I was drawn to him, to the mystery he embodied. I started spending my afternoons in the garden too, pretending to read, but really I was observing him. His silences were unnerving. They stretched on, thick and heavy, suffocating any attempt at conversation. I would try though, ask him about the weather, the book he was reading, anything to break through the wall. He never responded, not a word, not a glance in my direction. It was as if I didn't exist. As if he existed on a different plane, visible yet untouchable. One day, a storm raged outside. Thunder rattled the windows of the common room. I found Maran there, standing by the window, his face illuminated by flashes of lightning. And for a moment, our eyes met. A flicker of something passed between us. Recognition? Fear? I couldn't tell. Then, just as quickly, it was gone. He turned away, his gaze returning to the storm outside. I was left trembling, unsure of what I had seen, of what I thought I had felt. The storm passed, leaving behind a washed, clean world. The air smelled of wet earth and ozone. I found Maran in the garden, sitting on his usual bench. He looked different somehow, smaller, more fragile. The silence that had always surrounded him now seemed to emanate from within, a hollow echo in his chest. I sat beside him, hesitant at first. He didn't acknowledge my presence, but for the first time I didn't feel invisible, I felt seen. We sat in silence for a long time, the only sound the chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. It was the most peaceful I had felt since arriving at Whispering Pines. Then, Maran spoke. One word, barely a whisper. Gone. His voice was raspy, unused. He looked at me, his eyes filled with a sorrow that ran deeper than any ocean. Gone. Was he talking about himself? About the missing pieces of his life? Or was he talking about all of us, lost in the labyrinth of our own minds? My time at Whispering Pines was coming to an end. The doctors said I was getting better. But what did better even mean? Was it the absence of pain, or the illusion of control? I went to say goodbye to Maran. He was nowhere to be found. Not in the garden, not in his room, not anywhere. It was as if he had vanished once again, swallowed whole by the silence. As I walked away from Whispering Pines for the last time, I couldn't shake the feeling that Maran had never truly left the woods, that he was still out there, a silent guardian of lost souls. I never saw Maran Duain again, but his silence stayed with me. It echoed in the quiet moments, a haunting reminder of the fragility of our sanity, of the thin veil that separates the living from the lost. And sometimes, in the dead of night, I could almost hear his voice, a whisper in the darkness, asking the question that haunted us all. Gone? Gone indeed, but never forgotten. For in his silence, Maran Duain had taught me more about life, about death, about the human condition, than any words ever could.